Okay. So this is my hardest ghost mode ever, question mark. So we're going to start a new game. I just died on my last one because I was so crap at the game, but we're going to move on. Basically what I'm doing is trying to make, I mean, I was really excited about ghost mode when it first came out because it was something that for me was missing from the game. The fact that you had a squad of people and didn't really like the AI controls. I didn't really like the way that they would back off and hide and blah blah blah. So they just didn't help me in the game, and I felt that they actually made parts of the game unrealistically easy, even on the most difficult mode. And so I wanted something that was going to challenge me. And then when Ghost Mode came out, I just really embraced it and said, well, what if I took the game and tried to create the hardest mode possible? So I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to create my character quickly. You can see that actually what I like about the game is it does remember your last face, which isn't too bad. I tend to actually try and change it every time, just for a bit more realism. Like if you're going to lose the player, you might as well start the next game with a new player altogether. But for this case, it's the first broadcast that I'm doing. I'm going to keep this guy on. So what I tend to do, you'll see what I'm doing with the way that he looks, but I really love the tats, even though I actually end up covering all of his skin up anyway. I just really love knowing that he's got them on under there. So my favourite top at the moment is actually light hunting jacket. There it is. For the sake of ghost mode, I tend to go with all black, but I think green, like that sort of dull green, is also a really good colour. I think it goes well with the game. I love the mole harness. I'm a bit of a minimal gamer, but you'll see the way that I play. I tend to like the minimal kind of cuts, the minimal equipment, you know, combat boots black. I don't like him wearing anything on the eyes because he's going to wear face wear, which is what I love, is the Doom mask. So I really love, because this is ghost mode, I really want my player to feel like he's not a part of this world. I don't want him to feel like he's part of Bolivia. I want him to feel like he's literally just been dropped in on his own to do a mission, which is obviously to clean up Bolivia and everything bad and corrupt in it. So as you can see, I love the minimal look, camel pack. I'm not sure why the green doesn't quite match the rest of the green for the camel pack, but that's fine. Like I said, black is the other one that I like, the other colour that I like to go with, but for now I'm going to do green for this one because my last player was black with his clothes. In terms of patches, my favourite patch is Leviathan. I love it. It's nice and simple. It's black, it's dark, it's kind of subtle, so you can't really see it. It doesn't stand out a whole lot. I'm not really big into things standing out when I'm trying to camouflage into the scenery. So yeah, that's it. That's the way that he looks. So let's jump into the game now. Oh, I always go for extreme because obviously this wouldn't be much of a hard mode without extreme being turned on. I've actually got a load of games, and compared to those, the load times on Ghost Recon are actually pretty decent. Some of the games I play, like WE2K, is ridiculous. Okay, so starting the game now. Obviously the mission pops up. I've got these 4 freakazoids with me. Now, what it does, when you first start Ghost Mode, for some reason, Weaver, who is the player that you actually play in the normal game, he retains the outfit that you wore the last time. So as you can see, I'm wearing green and he's wearing black, just to prove that I'm actually wearing exactly the same outfit. that I wore. I don't like the fact that it resets everybody's uniforms, because you can customize them all, and I like to put masks on all of them so that if I ever need to use them for anything, or if I just want them on the game in the world, just to maybe have that visual element, I'd love them to have their mask on, just so that they actually look like they're serious about being undercover in rogue territory. So, okay, let's start by going to loadout. I think this is, in fact, let's go back and start with what I do.
Time to earn your pay, people. Put on your game faces.
I tell you, I'm not too comfortable working with packing.
Okay, so I tend to just press start, jump into options, gameplay. I keep everything that is there, so you can see over the shoulder. I mean, that's what it is. All of the controls are more or less fine. I don't like tutorial messages, so I turn that off. I don't care about some of this stuff. The main ones that I turn off is that I don't want to play with my teammates, and that is what makes you go on your own in the game. So you'll see what happens as I jump out now. HUD, again, this is what I really have changed in order to make the game harder. You can see that on the right hand side you've got like your standard gaming screen for Ghost Recon, but what I've done is changed it. So enemies and rebels, I'm okay having the little tags. However, part of me is tempted to keep them off, because to make this the hardest game possible, I don't want to be able to see the tags of where they are. However, I think that also defeats the idea of being able to tag someone, and I think that that is a realistic addition. So having the enemy and rebel tags on, it means that I can actually tag people when I'm doing a bit of recon work, and keep an eye on where people are and track them, but only through my vision on the screen, rather than being able to track them through a little mini map or anything like that. I don't mind things like the tier points coming up, that's absolutely fine. The Intel hub, I mean, I don't use this. I don't use Intel in this game, and I'll explain that later. Input reminders, no. That's fine, you know, to know the buttons to do stuff, I think that's fair. The crosshair, obviously, I like that to be switched on. Helicopter's fine. The minimap is the thing that I turn off, because I just think in real life you wouldn't have that visual element of knowing exactly what's next to you at exactly what moment in time. So I like to turn that off, makes it nice and hard. Detection clouds is a definite no-no, that's ridiculous addition. Trying to make the game too easy for people. Objective markers I'm okay with, but at the same time it actually doesn't bother me too much if it's off. So I'm going to turn it off actually, because it does make it more difficult. Communication markers, I'm okay with those, just because I don't think they're actually relevant in the game that I play anyway. Item and location markers, this is something that I was a bit unsure of, but I think when you're close to it, in close proximity geographically, I have no problem with keeping that on, because ultimately you can see it. But if I want to make it the hardest ever, I'm going to turn that off as well. Alert markers, again, we can turn those off, I think. I think it's going to keep this red cloud on the floor though, which kind of makes me think there's no difference between now having the markers on and off, so I'll keep them on, because if the red marker's there, that's all I need. Sync shots I think are realistic, because you would tag. If you can tag, then you should be able to sync mark, although I don't have a team anyway. Ammo and items, this is the one thing I do have on, and I think it doesn't make too much of a difference. Because you'd be able to check your ammo at any time. You'd be able to check all the stats and stuff at any moment, because you just check your backpack. So this is partly where a game actually doesn't work. So it's not real life. And so this can help me. I think this is something that would supplement what you would be able to do in real life. Mission reminders, no. Hints, definitely not. Notifications, I'm okay with notifications. Similar to when you get the tier updates. Team info, definitely not. And that's it. So I apply that, come out, gameplay. I'm just going to go back in and explain one thing on the gameplay. Turn that off as well, actually. No, I'll leave that. So there you go, that's how it is for me to begin with. So if I come back to the game,
End of the day, this is a revenge mission.
I'm completely on my own.
Quick before we get stuck.
He's talking to himself like a weirdo.
Cartel bullets.
Jump into loadout. So now what I want to do is select my guns. I have my own personal preference. I personally find that the 5.56 XI is the best overall well-rounded weapon for me, and I'll show you why in a second as I edit it. I think I always edit this, by the way, but I'm always looking for accuracy and range over handling. What I've noticed in the game, I actually think the game keeps any parts that you find in previous games, ghost mode games. I actually think it keeps those. So, because what I've noticed is that I've gone to the same place now a couple of times and I can't grab the weapon box anymore. So it actually does have some progression in the game, that if you find a part for a gun, you actually get to keep it, which is okay. It's not bad. It's kind of cool. Again, you can just see the way that I'm doing this, I'm just trying to get my accuracy, range and damage up. I think handling doesn't matter to me because I use a one bullet shot anyway, which again I'll go into later. So that's the first gun. What I always do as well is go and set up my sniper rifle. I always use the MSR to begin with, but again, I just set this up so that if I need it in the game, that I've just quickly got it to hand and I can jump in. You can't actually do much, as you can see, to the MSR to begin with, but I've changed it to that preset. I like keeping the black gun. I don't tend to change the colour of the guns. That's quite rare. I also don't renew the paint. I don't think there's any need to. Okay, assault rifle, we equip that. Then finally, jump out of there. Handgun's easy. I always go with a 5.7 USG. It's just, again, for me, it's the best all-rounded gun on the game. And like I said, what I'm looking for is accuracy, range, and damage. What's the best combination? So that is the best combination for me for that gun. And that's my loadout finished. So I come out of there, and let's just go through these little tabs. Tier 1's obviously not unlocked for me. This screen's helpful. I'm wondering, I'd be interested to know actually, because what it looks like is when you find and reveal the bosses in each territory, it permanently stays on this screen. So you can see that each boss that I've discovered in previous Ghost Mode games are on this screen now. So little bits of progression I think actually help with the game, because it does at least make you feel in some way like you're contributing and helping the next person on. I don't have many social things. I earn a no guts one. It's kind of fun that you have these. I'm actually looking forward to adding more of these as time goes by. As you can see, the way that my team look at the moment is standard. And this is what I hate about the game. It starts you in the middle of the map, and I hate it because it opens up this area, which I never explore, and I won't be exploring until I move to this area. However, I'm just going to go into edit appearance first. This is the last thing I do. Like I said, my teammates look terrible. What I tend to do is just give them the face wear. And I tend to give them the gas mask. I'm just not sure where it is exactly on this list, but I always give them the gas mask. I think it's sort of like the appropriate right one to give. So I just like covering their faces more than anything, just so that it feels like they're a bit more low-key. Again, I don't like this guy and what he's wearing, because I think he needs to be wearing either green or black to me. Like, I'm just not a fan of wearing greens, and I don't mind as long as the whole team is synced up. But again, I'm like, if you're a secret operative in a country that is hostile, why would you wear clothing that's brightly coloured, that lets everybody know who you are and where you are? I just don't get it. And I think the game does a bad job actually in that area. I think there must be a way of automatically syncing this stuff. Anyway, again, headsets, I'm not a big fan of headsets. But there you go, gas mask. Again, in black, thank you. And obviously Weaver is wearing what I wore in my last game, so that's my team setup now. I know they don't really look unique. I think it's up to you as a gamer if you want them to look unique, to do that. Me personally, I'm not. Sometimes I like to give one of them a tattoo, because I think it just adds that little bit of extra detail. For some reason I like giving this guy that tattoo, so he looks a bit like Aquaman, so I'm just like, I'll give him the tattoo. And again, it's those little details that I like, but I never use them anyway, so for me it's kind of like, who cares? You know, if I'm going to use them, this stuff would make a big difference to me. And in like my normal game mode, I make sure that they're all kitted out the way that I want them to look. So that's the whole team done, and that's it for me now. So here we go. We're going to get to experience the hardest game.
Find them out.
So what I do first is, now that I've done that, I jump out here. I tend to go to Flor del Oro, and the reason I go there is because it's got the lowest point on the map, the nearest to the edge. As far as I'm concerned, that you want to drop somewhere that's the nearest to the edge. Now, in Germanes, the problem with this region is there's loads of side missions to do. There's the Rainbow Six mission, there's Predator. So I don't stay in this region because it's boring. It's too complicated for me to start in. This is the kind of region I think you want to do towards the end of the game, if anything. I've debated to go Villa Verde, but I wish there was a house up here that I could start from, because that would be my immediate choice. But you know, Villa Verde Charlie is a decent option. I don't like the other coast, so I never go on this side of Bolivia, to be honest, and that then leaves me with the south. Obviously Malca Delta is southern, but this is the most southern of all of them, and I always like to think that if I was a recon guy on my own, that I would come in through the border of some kind, whether it's the north, east, south or west. It doesn't bother me which one, as long as you feel like you're actually coming in at the border. Again, Tabacal Alpha is similar, and that would be a region that I would be open to travelling to as well. But this is a much more mountainous region, so my personal preference, and also the challenge of Flor del Oro, is the fact that it's such a difficult game to start with, and it means it's more of a challenge. So when I jump in, there are a few rules that I want to go over, which are how I set my game up. And they're very simple things, and you probably won't agree with all of them, and that's fine, but I want to make this as realistically difficult as possible. So here we go. Here I am. Character's looking nice and green.
Bowman, from Florida Oro.
The trees there may be pretty, but that province is the heart of Unidad corruption. We want to break up the love affair between Unidad and the cartel. That means taking down General Barrow.
The commander of Unidad. How hard is he to get to?
We've got no leads on the general's location, but we've got word of a data center at Unidad's Mob Jaguar. Our source tells us it's chock full of informed personnel. It may even tell tales about some of Unidad's less than savory operations.
Sounds like a good place to find leads on General Barrow.
I'm sending you the location of Mob Jaguar now. They've probably got the data center underground to keep it cool. And our source couldn't get us any password access, so you'll have to hack in.
I let them just talk and get all this crap out of the way. I won't be playing the videos and stuff. I don't think it's needed. You literally get it as like default for just turning up in a region, so whenever you're playing your game, I'll let you guys discover that yourselves. What's important for me right now is to get high. What I love to do, because of the way that I play this game, it's always important for me to get as high as I can, or at least to a vantage point that I can scope out. Now, the way I play this game, actually, that isn't going. I've never seen that. Goodbye. Okay, that was a waste of my time. So, as you know, you've got the drone. Voila. I don't use the drone in this game mode. It's a bit controversial, but I don't think it's realistic that a lone wolf in a country on his own would have a drone, and I think the AI actually isn't very good. I don't think the Unidad soldiers or the Sicarios are actually very intelligent when it comes to the drone, because most people would be able to see and hear a drone. For some reason they go stupid in this area and can't hear or see it. And frankly, I think it's a bit of an easy way out of the game. So what I tend to use is the binoculars. And so I only let myself use binoculars in the game in order to navigate. I'm allowed to look at the map. I allow myself the chance to actually look at a map, but I try and stick as much as I can to just using the binoculars, because I think they are the most important part of the game. In terms of navigating the map and finding out where I'm going and what I can see, I think it's really important and also very realistic that you would stand on a checkpoint that's so high up. As you can see, the benefit of me being this high is that I can actually see everything around me. You can see all this beautiful scenery. Ubisoft have obviously done a fantastic job with the scenery on this game, but I like to be able to navigate by the terrain and actually say, okay, I've got binoculars, what can I see? I can see there's a building in the distance, I wonder what it is. The only way I'll ever find out is by actually physically running over there. I don't use vehicles because, again, I think that they're too loud, too brash, too open. I don't think that a covert op team would actually use public transport. Maybe they do in real life, but it doesn't feel like they would unless it was absolutely essential, perhaps, to get away from somewhere. So I'm against using that. Obviously, you've only got one gun, so I select this gun. But the MSR does come into play depending on the area that I'm going toward. So when I go down here, let's just zoom in. When I go down to that Unidad base, I usually take my MSR and only use the MSR on this base. Because the sniper points, you've got great distances that you need to cover in order to shoot people. What I will add, I will use a vehicle and I'll show you why later, to get into that base. There's a perimeter fence that I need to get into. So I do use cars when they're needed, but it's always when they're realistically needed in the game. It's not something I use as a fast mode of transportation. I also don't fast track. I know that I fast track to this start point, but that is the first and last time that I do that in this game mode. I don't believe in the idea of just quickly magically teleporting your way out and halfway across a country. It's not realistic, it doesn't work like that. So I've got to escape on foot, and I've got to try and escape, so that helps with the way I play the game. Now, something I will add, a little comment right now in terms of the game, is that when you don't have the map, this is one of the things you don't realise makes the game so hard. I can't see what these cars are. I don't know, unless I'm looking at them, I don't know when there's an enemy car on the road. And what I'm really impressed with is by removing the map, I actually found that it makes me play the game as though I'm really there, because what I have to do is look across the road and make sure that there are no enemy cars coming, and take advantage of the point when there aren't, because you never know if a car... One of the last games I played, one of the first times I played Ghost Mode like this, I was shocked and ambushed by a car that was driving behind me, and just didn't think, it just did not cross my mind that I wouldn't be able to see the cars. And I learned from that mistake, and now I've ended up being like a road traffic safety warden whenever I cross the road. So as you can see, I'm making my way down. I'm actually wanting to go somewhere else, so I jump into my map. These are the places I've scouted. I'll only go places that I've scouted usually, but obviously if for whatever reason the binoculars, I can see the place but I can't scan it, then I just assume that in real life you would see it, so you can therefore go there. So I'm going to go over to this place first. I think this is a nice little base for me to show and begin. I tend never to get killed here, so but we'll find out if that's going to happen soon. What I'm going to do is play this one little base, and then I'm going to stop the broadcast. So if you're bored, I apologise. I hope that you've enjoyed seeing the mode and the way that I play it. I've really wanted actually to share the way that I play this game with everyone, because I think it's a really cool mode. It's been a load of fun that they've made it hard, they've added difficulty to it. There's this sense of isolation, so when you're playing the game you actually really do feel like you're in the middle of a country with nowhere to go and no one to help. So I think they've done a really good job. It was a little bit delayed. I think they should have added this mode a lot earlier than they have. Obviously they've probably made plans as a marketing and development agency to make a bit of money out of it for season 2, but now that they've added it, it's a great additive to the game. I love all of the additions they're making. I think Ghost Recon is the most enjoyable game I've played since Rainbow Six back on the PS3. I've just loved it, and I love the open world. It just really plays well. So now, obviously, I'm gonna probably change the way I speak a little bit, because I know what's coming here. I've done this area so many times, but
I got a target carrying submachine guns. I see a second
I
target.
also like to just play with one bullet only.
I got a third.
And that's not for difficulty purposes, that's actually just my personal preference.
I'm sure they'll make good use of it.
I don't know why they can't see me walking in. I mean, they're like 60 meters away, they should be able to spot me, but they can't. I tend to get very quiet at times like this, so if I do get quiet, it's just how I play the game. I get a bit too serious.
Target number 5.
I think this bit's really important that you get your pistol. I think having the pistol really is your second weapon, so you need to get used to it and make it your home.
Sniper up in the tower.
Took out the sniper. Now, what I like about this game but also what I don't like. It's a bit of a love-hate thing. I love the fact that you can swap guns and pick up, but the problem is it doesn't drop the gun that you swap with. So if I swap with my 5.56, what ends up happening, I lose this gun for good until I go back to an ammo crate and actually change it, which is a bit annoying. It's actually very annoying, because you should be able to drop the gun temporarily so that you can use the sniper rifle, for example, and then obviously just come back and switch to your own weapon. I wouldn't use this sniper rifle though, because it doesn't have a silencer, which makes it kind of null and void for the way that I play the game.
Got a tango.
I do have a bit of advice for the way that I play the game. The way that I play this, I've been debating over how to play this game in terms of the missions. Do I play the game region by region, and as I encounter missions, do I then try and complete those missions before I can move on geographically to the next location? I think for me, you'll be different, I'm sure. I'm going to play this game with the intent of, I want to build my skill set first. So actually what I do is I come to these places, scout them out, find out who's walking around.
Spotted one with submachine guns.
Kill the easy targets. Claim the weapons that I want. And then go. So for example here, I won't kill any of those guys down there, because I simply don't have, on my own, I do not have the resource to be able to do it without making a very loud noise and getting myself in a position where I could probably die and probably will get shot and killed if I go for them all. And I'm much more of a silent lone wolf player, so for me it's more important to stay sort of in the shadows, not seen, than it is to get kills and try and build XP through killing. So as you can see, I took those two guys out. I only tend to take the kills that are easy and in front of me. Those two guys were isolated, they weren't going to kill me, they weren't going to do any damage in the big scale of things, and therefore I shot them. Obviously you can see the shiny box even though I can't see the tag on it. And again, this is where the map really hurts you. Not having a map means that I can't see where all of these little boxes are, so I either have to go off of my memory, which is kind of cool that you have to remember a place, or the other way around it, of course, is to explore, and that's what I kind of like. I love the exploration element to this sort of difficulty setting. So again, easy target, nobody's notified that I've killed him. And it gets me a bit of XP for minimum effort. Now, I wouldn't advise doing this usually, but the game's pretty good. I know that's unrealistic, but hey, no one's perfect. So you can see that when somebody spots you, you still get... Oh gosh, they're coming. You can see that you still get the notification that they can see you, which is cool. I'm okay with that. I don't know how. I think I might be able to toggle it on and off, but I actually don't know if I can. I'm okay with that, to be honest. I think if you know that where the people are, naturally you should be able to do it anyway. This is typical that in my live broadcast that I've actually played this section of the game the worst that I've ever played it. I've never notified those guys of my existence or whereabouts before. and that's drawn them all a lot closer to me than I was hoping for. But still, I should be okay.
Hold up. There's a weapons case here.
Okay, so you heard him say there about the weapons case. Now, in previous games, I've collected this. Now, this is interesting because on my last game, this was already taken. So where I said earlier about progression, that can't be true.
Nice.
Because as you can see, I've just picked up the 7.65 by 51 magazine, which is interesting. A bit of an inconsistency because in one of my last games, it 100% did actually let me retain all of the stuff I found. Now, again, I'm obviously being extra careful, but the road here is so dangerous. I didn't realise it did happen to me on one of my games where, you know, I think it was a Unidad car just came around the corner and started shooting at me. And it was just crazy because I was like, man, I never thought about covering my back before to the road, because you just take for granted the little mini map that you have. Not anymore. So that's that then. Again. Obviously, I'm just tagging all the supplies that I can because I want to get as many skills. Now, what I usually recommend as well, and I didn't say this, but the minute you get a skill on this game, use it. Especially only on the stuff that you need, but the minute you've got enough supplies and enough skill points for the skill that you need, and I always recommend stamina being the first one that you go for, because once you've filled that out, you can run as long as you want without getting tired, which is great when you need to escape or get away from something. The other one is the weapon, which I'm going to do right now. Stable aim is really important. Stable aim, when you're sniping or when you're just shooting in general, it's the most important aspect for me. So stable aim, ammo capacity is another one that I always try to upgrade as soon as possible. Ammo retention is another one that's good. The ADV suppressor is brilliant because it removes the damage reduction from having a suppressor, which is great. Your time to aim is a really important one, and then ranged elite is also, for someone like me, that's the perfect skill to acquire. Drone, I don't use the drone, so on this one, this will be the last thing that I use. If you use the drone, the battery is the first thing you should do, because being able to fly this thing for as long as you want means that the range isn't so important, because you can keep sending the drone up for as long as you need to catch people and to spot people. I would then go after the range. After that, it's really down to things like stealth is a good one, but after that, it's up to you what you like about the drone. Items, parachutes obviously important because it means you can use a parachute in the game. Binocular zoom, for me, this has become really important. This never used to be an important skill, but because I now rely solely on my binoculars, this is now the most important, one of the most important for me. Binocular recon, therefore, as a natural sort of progression, needs to be added to. Physical stamina is definitely a big one. Quiet running, bullet resistance is a heavy one. That's definitely one that I want to get as soon as I can. Detection, I think any explosion resistance, and obviously faster regen as well. The physical section for me is the most important one out of all of them. Squad I'm not really bothered about because I don't have a squad, which is good because it means that I can focus all my skill points on my weapon and my physical, and then a little bit of item as well. Again, rebel support, I'm okay with this in the game, but this is something I said earlier that I was going to talk about and I clearly forgot to. Basically on the game, you get all these mini missions you can do to help get rebel support, but also it increases the rebel presence in the game itself. I actually don't do these missions. as part of Ghost mode. I don't do them, so that's why I left this helicopter clean. That's why I didn't kill anyone, because I don't need the helicopter. I do, however, have to go back and get that Kingslayer file. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the side missions, and I wouldn't do it on this mode because I think it's, for the sake of how hard this is, the focus and the objective for me is to actually complete the game and to kill everyone. To kill all the bosses and take out all the big people in this game. So for me, the side missions that aren't needed, I'm happy sort of just finding little crates and supply boxes and just building my reputation and experience up that way, rather than having to go through the game and play loads of side missions, just risking needlessly my health. I'm just not a fan of those, so I don't tend to do them. I've actually never done one, certainly on this mode. So I'm going to grab this Kingslayer file. And you've been really patient if you've watched all 40 minutes of this. Thank you for listening. Thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. If there's anything you want me to add, if there's stuff you want to know about the game, if you want to know why do I dress the way I dress, why do I choose the guns I choose, I'm happy to go into more detail, but I need your feedback on that. So let me know what you think. Ask me questions, and then on later broadcasts, maybe I'll bring those out for you and start answering them. So thanks a lot, and I will see you soon.